刘培元的英文教室知识阅读篇回顾这是下就是当初我们讲认识中国就是知识阅读篇第9到18集我们这次只念英文你就可以当个听力不管是你边看英文边听，或者你根本不看，什么都不看就听也可以然后有意思不懂你就看我们前面9到18都有做解说那我们这边都是一句一个句子红字，一个句子黑字这样比较分得清楚动词都绿色字已经抓出来了，因为英文句子最重要的是动词有动词抓出来就比较好了解我们来念。 After surrender to Japan in 1945, Taiwan, including the pescadores, returned to China's control. China emerged victorious but war-ravaged and financially drained. The continued distrust between the Kuomintang and the communists led to the resumption of civil war. Constitutional road was established in 1947, but because of the ongoing unrest, many provisions of the ROC Constitution were never implemented in mainland China. A People's Republic. Major combat in the Chinese Civil War ended in 1949, with the Communist Party in control of most of mainland China, and the Kuomintang retreating offshore, reducing its territory to only Taiwan, Hainan, and their surrounding islands. On 21st September 1949, Communist Party Chairman Mao Zedong proclaimed the establishment of the People's Republic of China with a speech at the first plenary session of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, followed by a public proclamation and celebration in Tiananmen Square. In 1950, the People's Liberation Army captured Hainan from the ROC and incorporated Tibet. However, remaining Kuomintang forces continued to wage an insurgency in western China throughout the 1950s. The regime consolidated its popularity among the peasants through land reform, which included an execution of between 1 and 2 million landlords. China developed an independent industrial system and its own nuclear weapons. The Chinese population increased from 550 million in 1950 to 900 million in 1974. However, the Great Leap Forward, an idealistic massive reform project, resulted in an estimated 15 to 35 million deaths between 1958 and 1971, mostly from starvation. In 1966, Mao and his allies launched a cultural revolution, sparking a decade of political recrimination and social upheaval that lasted until Mao's death in 1976. In October 1971, the PLC replaced the Republic in the United Nations and took a seat as a permanent member of the Security Council. After Mao's death, the Gang of Four was quickly arrested and held responsible for the excesses of the Cultural Revolution. Then jumping to power in 1978 and instituted significant economic reforms. The party losing governmental control over citizens' personal lives and the communes were gradually disbanded in favor of working contracted to households. This marked China's transition from a planned economy to a mixed economy with an increasingly open market environment. China adopted its current constitution on 4th December 1982. In 1989, the suppression of student protests in Tiananmen Square brought condemnation and sanctions against the Chinese government from various foreign countries. Jiang Zemin, Li Peng, and Zhu Rongji led the nation in the 1990s. Under their administration, China's economic performance put an estimated 150 million peasants out of poverty and sustained an average annual gross domestic product growth rate of 11.2%. The country joined the World Trade Organization in 2001 and maintained its high rate of economic growth under Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao's leadership in 2000s. However, The growth also severely impacted the country's resources and environment, and caused major social displacement. China's Communist Party General Secretary Xi Jinping has ruled since 2012. It has pursued large-scale effort to reform China's economy. It has also reformed the one-child policy and prison system, as well as instituting a vast anti-corruption crackdown. In 2013, China initiated the Belt and Road Initiative, a global infrastructure investment project. The COVID-19 pandemic broke out in Wuhan, Hebei in 2019. Communist Party. Since 2018, the main body of the Chinese Constitution declares that the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics is the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. The 2018 amendments constitutionalized the de facto one-party status of China, wherein the General Secretary holds ultimate power and authority of the state and the government, and serves as a paramount leader of China. The current General Secretary is Xi Jinping. He took office on 15 November 2012 and was re-elected on 25 October 2017. The electoral system is pyramidal. Local people's congresses are directly elected, and higher levels of people's congresses up to the National People's Congress are indirectly elected by the People's Congress level immediately below. The political system is decentralized, and the provincial and the sub-provincial leaders have a significant amount of autonomy. Another 8 political parties have representatives in the NPC and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. China supports the Leninist principle of democratic centralism, but critics describe the elected National People's Congress as a rubber-stamp body. Administrative divisions. The People's Republic of China is divided into 22 provinces, 5 autonomous regions, and 4 municipalities, collectively referred to as mainland China, as well as the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. Geographically, all 31 provincial divisions of mainland China can be grouped into 6 regions: North China, Northeast China, East China, South Central China, Southwest China, and Northwest China. China considers Taiwan to be its 23rd province, although Taiwan is governed by the Republic of China, which rejects the PRC's claim. Conversely, the RC claims sovereignty of all divisions governed by the PRC. Taiwan. Ever since its establishment after the Chinese Civil War, the PRC has claimed the territory is governed by the Republic of China. A separate political entity today, commonly known as Taiwan, is a part of its territory. It regards the island of Taiwan as its Taiwan province, Kinmen and Mazu as a part of Fujian province, and islands the RC controls in the South China Sea as a part of Hainan province and Guangdong province. These claims are controversial because of the complicated cross-strait relations, with the PRC treating the One China policy as one of its most important diplomatic principles. Economy. Since 2010, China had the world's second-largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, totaling approximately $13.5 trillion as of 2018. In terms of purchasing power parity, China's economy has been the largest in the world since 2014, according to the World Bank. According to the World Bank, China's GDP grew from $150 billion in 1978 to $13.6 trillion by 2018. China's economic growth has been consistently above 6% since the introduction of economic reforms in 1978. China is also the world's largest exporter and second largest importer of goods. Between 2010 and 2019, China's contribution to global GDP growth has been 25% to 39%. China had the largest economy in the world for most of the past 2,000 years, during which it has seen cycles of prosperity and decline. Since economic reforms began in 1978, China has developed into a highly diversified economy and one of the most consequential players in international trade. Major sectors of competitive strength include manufacturing, retail, mining, steel, textiles, automobiles, energy generation, green energy, banking, electronics, telecommunications, real estate, e-commerce, and tourism. China has 3 out of the 10 largest stock exchanges in the world: Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Shenzhen. They together have a market capitalization of over $15.9 trillion as of October 2020. China has 4. Shanghai, Hong Kong, Beijing, and Shenzhen are the world's the most competitive financial centers, which is more than any country in the 2020 Global Financial Centers Index. By 2035, China's 4 cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, are projected to be among the global top 10 largest cities by nominal GDP, according to a report by Oxford Economics. China has been the world's #1 manufacturer since 2010, after overtaking the U.S., which had been #1 for the previous 100 years. China has also been #2 in high-tech manufacturing since 2012, according to U.S. National Science Foundation. China is the second largest retail market in the world, next to the United States. China leads the world in e-commerce, accounting for 40% of global market share in 2016 and more than 50% of global market share in 2019. China is the world's leader in electric vehicles, manufacturing and buying half of all the plug-in electric cars in the world in 2018. China had 170 GW of installed solar capacity by the end of 2018, which amounts to more than 40% of global solar capacity. China is a member of the WTO and is the world's largest trading power, with a total international trade value of $4.62 trillion in 2018. Its foreign exchange reserves reached $3.1 trillion as of 2019, making its reserves by far the world's largest. In 2012, China was the world's largest recipient of inward foreign direct investment, attracting $253 billion. In 2014, China's foreign exchange remittance was $64 billion, making it the second largest recipient of remittance in the world. China also invested abroad with a total outward FDI $62.4 billion in 2012, and a member of major takeovers of foreign firms by Chinese companies. China is a major owner of U.S. public debt, holding trillions of dollars worth of U.S. Treasury bonds. China's undervalued exchange rate has caused friction with other major economies, and is also been widely criticized for manufacturing large quantities of counterfeit goods. Following the 2007 to 8 financial crisis, Chinese authorities sought to actively wean off of its dependence on the U.S. dollar as a result of perceived weakness of the international monetary system. To achieve those ends, China took serious actions to further the internationalization of the renminbi. In 2008, China established Dim Sum Bank market and expanded a cross-border trade renminbi settlement pilot project, which helps establish ports of offshore renminbi liquidity. This was followed with bilateral agreements to settle trades directly to renminbi with Russia, Japan, Australia, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and Canada. This resulted rapid internationalization of renminbi. It became eighth most traded currency in the world, an emerging international reserve currency, and a component of IMF's spatial drawing rights. However, partly due to capital controls that made the renminbi fall short of being a fully convertible currency, it remains far behind the euro, dollar, and Japanese yen in international trade volumes. Class and income inequality. China has had the world's largest middle-class population since 2015, and the middle class grew to the size of 400 million by 2018. In 2020, a study by the Brookings Institution forecasts that China's middle class will reach 1.2 billion by 2027, making up 1/4 of the world's total. Wages in China have grown a lot in the last 40 years. Real wages grew sevenfold from 1978 to 2007. By 2018, median wages in Chinese cities such as Shanghai were about the same as or higher than the wages in Eastern European countries. China is the world's highest number of billionaires, with nearly 878 as of October 2020, increasing at a rate of roughly 5 per week. China has a high level of economic inequality, which has increased in the past few decades. In 2018, China's Gini index was 0.467, according to the World Bank. Languages. There are as many as 292 living languages in China. The languages most commonly spoken belong to the Sinitic branch of the Sino-Tibetan language family, which contains Mandarin and other varieties of Chinese language, Yue, Wu, Ming, Shan, Guan, and Hakka. Languages of Tibeto-Burman branch, including Tibetan, Chin, Nanxi, and Yu, are spoken across the Tibetan and Yannan Guizhou Plateau. Other ethnic minority languages in southwest China include Jiang, Tai, Dong, and Sui of the Ta Kadai family, Miao and Yao of the Mount Ming family, and the Wadi of the Austro-Aztec family. Across northeastern northwestern China, local ethnic groups speak Atak languages including Manchu, Mongolian, and several Turkic languages, Yugur, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Salar, and Western Uyghur. Korean is spoken natively along the border with North Korea. Standard Mandarin, a variety of Mandarin based on the Beijing dialect, is the official national language of China. It is used as a lingua franca in the country between people of different linguistic backgrounds. Mongolian, Uyghur, Tibetan, Juan, and various other languages are also regionally recognized throughout the country. Chinese characters have been used as the written script for the Sinitic language for thousands of years. They allow speakers mutually intelligible Chinese varieties to communicate with each other through writing. In 1956, the government introduced simplified characters, which have supplanted the older traditional characters in mainland China. Chinese characters are romanized using the pinyin system. Tibetan uses an alphabet based on an index script. Uyghur is most commonly written in Persian alphabet-based Uyghur Arabic alphabet. The Mongolian script used in China and the Manchu script both Russian and the Old Uyghur alphabet. Zhuang uses both an official Latin alphabet script and the traditional Chinese character script. Tourism in China. China received 55.7 million inbound international visitors in 2010, and in 2012 was the third most visited country in the world. It also experiences an enormous volume of domestic tourism. An estimated 740 million Chinese holidaymakers travel within the country in October 2012. China hosts the world's largest number of World Heritage Sites and is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. It is forecast by Euromonitor International that China will become the world's most popular destination for tourists by 2030. Literature. Chinese literature is based on the literature of the Zhou Dynasty. Concepts covered within the Chinese classic texts present a wide range of thoughts and subjects including calendar, military, astrology, biology, geography, and many others. Some of the most important early texts include the I Ching and Shu Jing within the 4 books and 5 classics, which served as Confucian authoritative books for the state-sponsored curriculum in dynastic era. Inherited from the classical poetry, classical Chinese poetry developed to its flourish during the Tang Dynasty. Li Bai and Du Fu opened forking ways to the poetic circles throughout Romanticism and Realism, respectively. Chinese historiography began with Xiji. The overall scope of the historiographical tradition in China is termed the 24 histories, which set a vast stage for Chinese fictions along with Chinese mythology and folklore. Pushed by a burgeoning citizen class in the Ming Dynasty, Chinese classical fiction rose to a boom of the historical, town, and gods and demons fictions, as represented by the fourth-grade classic novels, which include What Margin, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Journey to the West, and Dream of Red Chamber, along with the wuxia sections of Jin Yong and Liang Yushen. It remains an enduring source of popular culture in the East Asian cultural sphere. In the wake of the new cultural movement after the end of Qing Dynasty, Chinese literature embarked on a new era with written vernacular Chinese for ordinary citizens. Hu Xi and Lu Yang were pioneers. Lu Xun, the pioneers in modern literature. Various literature genres, such as mystic poetry, scholar literature, young adult fiction, and Sanjian literature, which is influenced by magical realism, emerged following the Cultural Revolution. Mo Yan, a Sanjian literature author, was awarded Nobel Prize in Literature in 2012 啊，所以它蛮长的啊，所以你自己这个训练一下自己的听力啊，顺便也了解一下整个中国啊，就当做外国人写的，我们对中国的整个了解。好，最后呢，我有15个 YouTube 频道，麻烦啊不要只按一个订阅啊，我不是只有一个频道，15个频道，麻烦15个全部按订。好，这集讲到这里啊。希望你的英文听力可以大幅增加。